Good afternoon and welcome back to another wonderful workshop. Thank you all for being patient. We're a few minutes behind. As you know, technology happens, things happen, but we are here again and so excited to end this month with a wonderful workshop. If you do not know, and this is your first time tuning in, my name is Whitney Middlebrooks, and I am the Family Self Sufficiency Program coordinator with the Lexington Housing Authority. I am here with Miss Sage Shioma, and we both come every month to give these wonderful workshops, give out some really good information. One, do some check in, some touch points, see how everyone is doing. But we always like to lead with some very good information that you can apply to your life, whether it's instantly or something that you can use throughout goals or apply them as needed. Um, Again, we are here today and we're doing our Cultivating Wellness workshop, and we have Miss Sage here. And before I lead into that, I just wanted to thank everybody for those that tune in every month. That really means the world to me and Miss Sage. And just know that you can always come back on our Facebook and YouTube page and rewatch the videos. If you missed something, you can always go back to it, jot down the note. And we always like to connect with our participants. So if my family self-sufficiency participants are in this live, feel free to say hello. Let me know you're here. I love for you to check in and let me know. And another housekeeping thing is that the Lexington Housing Authority, will be giving out candy this week. So I just wanted to announce that for everyone to know that we'll be in Southside on Wednesday. And Thursday we'll be at our office to give out candy to, the residents at Terrence Lane. So just make a mental note of that. I'll be putting that out on the Facebook so you all can be there. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to give the floor to Miss Sage, and we're going to get this workshop started.
Hi, my name is Sage Shioma, for those of you who may be joining us for the first time. Whitney Middlebrooks and I, we are here every month offering a virtual learning series. And I am the coordinator of BOSS Initiative. So I work closely with Whitney Middlebrooks, who is the coordinator of Family Self-Sufficiency. The idea is to funnel in and to bring workshops for those who are participants in family self-sufficiency as well as residents of the Lexington Housing Authority, to bring workshops that could help them to um, gain skills, raise awareness about issues, as well as take advantage of resources that they may not know Ms. Middlebrooks has access to, resources in the community outside of the Lexington Housing Authority as well. So this month is actually October, and it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and it also is Emotional Wellness Month. So I've prepared a little PowerPoint to kind of whiz through some of these topics because that's a lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover in a short amount of time. So first, I want to say cultivating wellness is a topic and a name that Whitney gave the workshop. I really like the way she's so snazzy about things. When I told her what we would be covering, she came up with cultivating wellness. And I think that's important because many times when we find ourselves ailing or we find ourselves having a deficit of some kind, dis-ease of some kind, we will focus on the dis-ease and not focus on enhancing wellness. And so my doctor taught me how to do that. My doctor says you have to enhance wellness. So I first want to talk about the word cultivate. So if we could kind of get the slides up.
One second.
So cultivating wellness in Emotional Wellness Month. Cultivate, the definition is to try to acquire or develop something, to raise or assist the growth of crops by filling or by labor and care. So a lot of times the word cultivate had to do with agriculture. So that would mean sowing seeds, I would assume. Once you sow a seed, if you are cultivating it, you're going to care for it, you're going to labor over it. And so to improve or develop by careful attention, training, study, devote time and thought. So we can't just devote our time and thought to our illness or what ails us and totally not devote any time to wellness. So that means to improve or develop. And it is the being in good health, um, especially as an actively, excuse me, I get a lot of those calls that we all get all day long. So, especially as an active activity of pursuit or pursuing a goal. So, cultivate means you're going to pursue wellness. That's what we next time. Wellness, by definition, is the state of being in good health, especially as an activity or actively pursuing a goal. And then, according to the World Health Organization, health is defined as being a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being. So, according to the World Health Organization, good health is not, and wellness is just not merely being absent of disease. So, just the fact that you don't have disease doesn't really necessarily mean wellness. There has to be some prevention or something to maintain that wellness in place. Wellness is the act of practicing healthy habits on a daily basis to attain better physical and mental health outcomes. So that instead of just surviving, you're thriving. And so I wanted to clearly define cultivating wellness and what that actually means. Whitney, Breast Cancer Awareness Month was launched nationwide October 1985. So, Breast Cancer Awareness Month was launched when Betty Ford kicked off the week long event as she herself was a survivor of breast cancer. So, that was when Gerald Ford was our president. His wife, this was one of her initiatives and campaigns. The early goal of Breast Cancer Awareness Month was to educate women about breast cancer and early detection tests so that they could take charge of their breast health. One of their key goals was that they wanted to achieve ways to promote mammograms as an important tool to be used in the fight against breast cancer. So, all of us know somebody who has been impacted by breast cancer, who may have had a loved one who was impacted by breast cancer. And so, go on. Breast Cancer Awareness Month is a chance for all Americans to take time and acknowledge those men and women whose lives have been affected by breast cancer. So, this launch of this in 1985 has led to different changes in policies and legislature that help to also raise awareness. The bottom line is early detection saves lives. So, if you know someone who you love, even if you're a male and you're on this call, make sure that the women folk in your life get their exams regularly because early detection is one surefire way. And the other thing that the breast cancer organization has done is has created community for women because unless you're going through it, you may not really understand what a woman is experiencing. And so those organizations you can easily tap into, and it's almost like having a 24-hour support group available to you. Now we're going to move into the other one, which is
I have one quick question, just so people
yes.
know. What is the? Do you know the in terms of early detection? What age should a woman get a mammogram? Just for those who may not know.
Well, some people are saying that women who are over 50, right? But we have found that some women earlier are so I would say in their 40s. I would say at least their 40s.
I just looked online for those wondering from the cancer organization. They said that women ages 40 to 44 should have the choice to start the annual breast cancer screening with mammograms. Women 45 to 54 should get mammograms every year. So I
Yes.
wanted to put that out there. And it says women 55 and older should switch to mammograms every 2 years. So That's a
So
good
those are
point.
really good facts to have because, some women are younger. And what a lot of people don't know, there are men, very rarely, who have tested positive for breast cancer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to talk about Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It was launched nationwide October 1987. Domestic Violence Awareness Month was launched as a way to connect and unite individuals and organizations on domestic violence issues while raising awareness for those issues. So there are people who might be working in a hospital and they saw over and over again people coming to the hospital and really frightened and having to go back home to the perpetrator of violence. And then there might be social workers who were in community based organizations that were seeing it. So they wanted to unite all of the people who were impacted or providing service. So over the past 30 years, much progress has been made to support domestic violence victims and survivors. There has been progress in holding abusers accountable and to create and update legislature to further those goals. Did you know women between 18 and 24 years of age are at the greatest risk for intimate partner violence? Only 34% of people who are injured by intimate partners receive medical care for their injuries. And every minute, about 20 people are physically abused by intimate partner in the United States. And so basically what that means is in this short time that I've been on this call, close to 60 to 80 people have experienced in this short time that we've met with you domestic violence. Every minute, 20 people.
Wow.
So it is a pervasive issue.
Wow.
So they call it intimate partner violence because 1 in 4 women and 1 in 10 men experience sexual violence, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner during their lifetime. So with IPV related impacts such as being concerned for their safety, PTSD symptoms, injury, or needing victim services. And so, we like to think that it is a gender crime, and it is considered a gender crime because women are more likely to be abused in an intimate relationship. As you saw in the previous slide, women, I think it said 18 to 24, were at a much greater risk because they aren't even like able to define at that age what is a good or healthy relationship, especially if they were exposed to it as a child. They're just in their formative years. And so they might not see something that I might see as a red flag, but it's important to know that there are men who decide not to hit a woman back or not to ever put their hands on a woman, and they are being subjected to violence in their home. So when we talk intimate partner, we also think sexual, but we have to also know that there is a such thing as elder abuse. There may be an elder in the family who is no longer productive and able to work or advocate for themselves, and they're being cared for, or they might have grandkids that come back and take over the house, and actually, they might be being neglected, emotionally abused, or in some cases, God forbid, physically abused. So it's more pervasive than just a gender form of violence. Domestic violence is a problem that knows no religious, cultural, racial, or economic boundaries. However, domestic violence does not only affect women, men are also affected. There are different types of domestic violence, including physical, emotional, and psychological, among several others. There is a link between domestic violence and drug abuse, and elder abuse is also noted. So, physical and sexual abuse can happen in childhood, or it can happen even between a spouse and their mate. Emotional abuse, you won't see any physical scars, no broken ribs or black eyes, but someone talking down to you and someone berating you constantly could be a form of emotional abuse. Also, withholding, when people withhold love from one another or embarrass people in front of their friends or whatever. Threats and intimidation and coercion can happen, which, we see bullying, but imagine every night that's who you are with in a household, somebody that bullies you and threatens you and intimidates you. Isolation often is one of the early signs when a woman is so happy that he wants to spend all his time with her and he gives her his undivided attention, only to find out that he doesn't want her to be around her friends or family. And all of a sudden, she thought it was cute in the beginning, but now it's become very suffocating and a telltale sign of what is yet to come. And then some people might use the children. A lot of people don't know, like some people will do things in a family where they'll tell the one child everything about the other parent. And I heard a woman say this, and I think it is very true. If you have separated and you have difficulties with co parenting, if you speak ill of the other parent, the children are really going to be mad at you. A lot of women don't know that because he might miss child support payments. He's no good. He's in jail. Whatever the case may be, he's got a new family now. All of those things are very damaging, but they damage the relationship you have with your child more than how the child will view that other parent. And then sometimes, if a woman, now this is the case in today's society, has an economic disadvantage because she had children early, she didn't go to college or whatever, and she is relying on the income of her mate. Back in the day, women would stay in these relationships until the children were grown or until worse happened because they could not really have a career. And so today we don't see as much of that, but we do see still that economics can play a big role in control. So I'm going to, at the end, talk about just the one resource that I know for domestic violence in Davidson County. And we'll just go into that a little bit and leave that screen up at the end for anybody who needs to write down that information. But I'm going to talk about emotional wellness because when we talk about emotional wellness, we are talking about mental health. We are talking about domestic violence. We are talking about breast cancer because if you're not emotionally balanced, it leads to all these other things that can sprout or be an offshoot for it. Like since 2004, wellness advocates across the United States have recognized October as National Emotional Wellness Month. Who knew, right? That we actually have a month in which we should be focused on our emotional well being. So I'm just going to talk about 12 ways to cultivate wellness. Gratitude journaling. Okay. I have a gratitude journal. A lot of people just make gratitude lists. Some people wake up in the morning and find one thing to be grateful for. And if you're having a bad day, I guarantee you, if you stop, take the time to find one thing you're grateful for, you can shift your whole mindset and emotionally actually feel better. Take time to reflect. How many of us can do that? Let's take time to reflect and consider what season are we in? We're in autumn. What season are we approaching? Winter. The earth slows down, certain things slow down. It's darker for a longer period of the day and light for a shorter period of the day. But what do we do in this season? We get busier than ever. We have the holidays come, we got to go shopping, and it's Black Friday, and it's we do the complete opposite than what the earth is calling us to do. So if you could take the time to just take time to reflect, whether it's at night, in the morning, or in the middle of your day, don't answer the phone, don't look at your computer, just take time to reflect. And if you can reflect on not the bad stuff, but the good stuff, Take time to reflect on that good. Like I have a coffee substitute here that I am so happy about. It has a little caramel nut flavor in it and it's chicory. I can reflect on any little thing. You can reflect on just the laughter of your child or something funny they did. Just take time to reflect. Read a book. Whitney, you want to say something to that? Because I know somebody who told me it ain't never gonna happen. They say read a book. Never gonna happen.
What you mean, like if reading a book is not gonna?
Well, that's what somebody told me, but is there ways that reading a book could cultivate wellness, do you think?
Absolutely. So my thing is, I personally, I'm definitely a self-help book reader. Like I like
Mhm.
that, but I'm also a romance novel type person. So I mean, that's a wellness act that I like to do. I like to read those type of books. It kind of makes me go into another, just kind of go into a different place. So that for me is wellness personally. Because
And
if
that's amazing.
yeah, so I think some people only like, oh, well, you got to read um a motivational book, right? It really
Yes.
does not have to be that. I personally love fiction romance novels. I love them. I live for them, and that's something that I even feel kind of good about. It gives me that little tingling feeling inside. So that's a wellness act that I do. I don't have that much time, and sometimes as I would like to read books like that, only because I just don't have a lot of time. But when I do, I get all into it. And so I encourage people to find whatever genre. If you're into, you know, science fiction or anything, read a book, you know. There are definitely books that are going to be more uplifting per se if you're looking for a message. My favorite book is The Secret. I think I've said that a few times on here. It's a very easy read. It helps shift your mind, talks about the law of attraction, talks about what words you're saying out loud, thinking about, just more of your thoughts and your words. But always, sometimes just go into a fantasy world is just okay. And
And did you know Stacey Abrams is an author who writes romance novels?
I did not know that, but I felt like I saw that somewhere. But that's
And I mean, she has tons of them out. I mean, she's not
good.
written just like one or two.
Oh wow.
Is it? I'm going to read one day just to
I should,
see.
now that you said that, let me write that down to make a note.
Yes, yes.
See what
And
Miss
so,
Betty is talking about. We do have a
yes.
comment from our Facebook, Miss Betty. Hello, Miss Betty. How are you? She said you can go anywhere in a book. It's true. You can go any place you want to be. You can become the character, you can become whatever you want to be, or just kind of going into whatever world that looks like. So I think that's very true. And I think people need to maybe find out what you like. Some people, I don't like to read. Well, maybe there's something that you didn't know that you liked. And
Hmm.
maybe even if it's more like I said, the fantasy. I don't read Harry Potter, but that's a thing. People really into that. So I mean, just find something that you like, because sometimes we need to escape that makes you feel good and you like it. And it kind of can take your mind off some things that could be stressors. Just find that one thing that you like. So
I like that concept right there of finding the one thing you like. So be encouraged. Now, sometimes you're not going to get encouragement externally. Sometimes even the people who love you most might be having a bad day themselves and they're not optimistic, they're not positive. They just so you have to learn to speak words of encouragement in your own life. And I'm big on that. And it's because I know about negative self-talk personally, and I know about it professionally from when I counsel people. That negative self-talk is something that all of us are subject to and we all have to find ways to counteract that. And for some, it's affirmations, it's Bible scriptures for somebody, it's whatever can empower you and just stop that inner critic from going on and on and on and on in your head. Because sometimes you can work yourself into a panic attack or anxiety if you have a test or you have an interview. You're thinking the worst outcome. By the time you get there, you're such a nervous wreck. You would think you already had the interview, right, Whitney?
I
You want to
agree. I
say?
definitely think that we have to find ways to encourage ourselves. And sometimes we even have to detach ourselves from things that we know are kind of negative. I mean, oftentimes I can say this, sometimes social media. So if you need a break, take a break, you know? if, and I know you about to go into that spend time alone, but or if you're big on social media, follow more pages that are more uplifting. Are they giving these motivational quotes? Is it giving more things that make you kind of stretch and making you feel good? Not the posts that make you feel like, well, dang, my life sucks, and somebody's in Dubai right now, and then you start comparing yourself. And I have to say that because we are in the age of social media, we're seeing things more instantly. So be encouraged and follow things that are much more uplifting. So if following gossip sites isn't particularly making you feel good, unfollow them, you know? So I put that out there because I know that we're so very heavily into the internet and social media. So but there's so many things that we can tap into. So if you're into the internet a lot, I follow so many great pages on YouTube that are very uplifting. They're very like, oh, I needed that. Sometimes I listen to them in the morning, or I listen to a certain podcast in the morning. It just kind of makes me feel good, you know. It's motivational, and so yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, we could get that encouragement from within or without, but you got to cultivate it, meaning you got to pursue it because negativity is all around us 24/7. There are sad stories, and we do sometimes have what I call compassion fatigue. And it's a real thing. And people who've worked as therapists know what that means. That means where all of a sudden you almost have trauma vicariously
Wow.
because secondary trauma because you have heard so many sad stories or something on the news that you hear really hits home for you about children or animals or for people of color. So you just have to pace yourself with it. You can't take it all in all day 24/7. As then you'll wind up in a bad mood and your life is going well. You don't even know why you're in a bad mood. You've ingested so much.
Which is why I says the social media thing. I know with me personally, I'm like, this is draining me. I've even had to tell friends, hey, don't send me that because it be messing up my mood. It really can bring me down, and I don't be liking it. And like you talked about sometimes with a lot of the videos with, and not to not say I don't want to know, but oftentimes it really drains me with, police brutality and seeing like that's traumatizing to seeing someone getting killed. Like I don't want to see it no more. So I
Mm-hmm.
have to pace myself with that, right? I want to
Yeah.
be informed, but hey, this is also messing with my own mental health. So we have to protect our own peace, protect your peace. And if protecting my peace is, I know it's happening, but I can't watch that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, don't send me that.
Yes. So spending time alone is different for everyone. For some people, it's very frightening to just be quiet and sit in the quiet. For others, spending time alone is just when they're knitting or if they're crocheting or doing things that, they could just do forever. Crafting. And for me, it's writing because I get writing done if I spend time alone. And I don't always like to write because I like people. I'm a social person. But spending time alone could just be taking your nature walk once a day for your cardio and getting that in. And you saw people going to the park in large groups. That gave people, families, time to spend with each other. COVID brought that out in us, right? So I have on here take a quiet bath, light a candle, take a bath. That's a luxury because we're in a busy society. But if you did that once a week, every time you do it, when you get out the tub, you just feel like, oh, that sure felt so good. And you sleep like a baby. So these are things we can do to cultivate with wellness. This is just 12 things I pulled together. I have used to give out 52 pleasurable activities. A list is called 52 Pleasurable Activities. It's part of dialectical behavioral therapy, something called DBT. I used to just give it to people, and it had all sorts of stuff. Baking, 52 things. You'd be surprised at what's on that list. A lot of different things on that list. But when you go into nature, you automatically feel a sense of calm. You automatically feel a sense of well being. You breathe in so much oxygen and you don't even notice how different you feel until you leave. That how refreshing that was. My doctor often says, go out in nature. And so even for vitamin D, We need sunshine in order to get vitamin D. We can take it out the, vitamin aisle, but there's nothing like getting just a few rays of sunshine if your skin will permit, if you can, and doesn't harm you. Then say no. Now, say no, I'm still working with that. But when we overextend, overschedule, and overcommit ourselves, we get stressed out. And I didn't want to do a lot of slides because I could have been all day with this wellness thing. But stress accumulated over time is where hypertension, diabetes, okay, anxiety, and all those things live. Because your body stays in a constant state of fight, flight, response mode, fight, flight, response. And it's releasing all of these endorphins and juices and neurotransmitters. And you're just in a constant state of panic. I could say I feel better right now, but there are times when just as something as simple as misplacing my keys could start my palms sweating, my heart racing, and I'm just vexed. And whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or for a full half hour, it does not do a body good. That's all I'm gonna say. It doesn't. Like something as little as that could create a panic response in you. Imagine the big stuff. And so, it's being observant of that. Cultivation means paying attention and giving thought and care to wellness. So sweat it out. How many people want to really go out and sweat? I know I ain't even gonna say it because you got Whitney. I'm gonna say this. How many people say, "Well, girl, I can't go to the gym because I can't sweat out my hair."
I can't. But see, that's why I keep braids. But I do be having an excuse like, oh, girl, I just got my hair done. Right? But there's definitely some truth to that. Listen, I'm guilty.
I mean, but sweat is so good for you, to be able to sweat it out because in order to sweat, that means your cardiovascular system has been pumped up and revved up. And the cardiovascular system, if you rev it up, it sends endorphins, like it sends serotonin and dopamine. All of these things make you feel good. Serotonin gives you a sense of well being. The brain releases it when you ride a bike, when you swim, if you run, anything that gets the heart pumping. And then the dopamine is a natural painkiller. So it calms you down. And even if you have a paper cut, I don't care. Dopamine is going to be released for
Wow.
just a little paper cut.
Wow.
So knowing thyself is the way to cultivate wellness. How many built-in things do we have that we just take for granted and neglect that could actually promote wellness? See a counselor and a therapist. I'm going to
Yeah.
park it right there. I'm going to park it right there.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Whitney?
right there, that right there is what we all need. And I think that oftentimes we don't feel like no people feel I don't need help. Well, it's not about there. You also too, I want to dismantle the thought of something must be wrong with me if I need therapy. Actually, we
Yes.
all need therapy. Doesn't mean nothing wrong. This doesn't mean anything is wrong. And I'll be transparent and say I just started my journey of therapy. And it feels good, right? It's not like something's wrong with me right now. Nothing's necessarily going on, but I need to talk to somebody too. So
I think having gone through 2020 with the amount of loss and grief, whether it was up close and personal or watching the news and seeing what this nation experienced, the George Floyd summer, I really believe that everyone could benefit, but just having that special attention focused on them. Like that's your time to sit with somebody who nothing else matters to that person but helping you sort through your inner landscape. And that's just like common sense to me.
yes, absolutely.
Like why can't I work on the part of me that nobody sees? I could put on some lipstick. I could put on a pretty dress today. I could do all of that, but the part of me that nobody sees, I just think, oh well, I'll neglect that. I can't see a therapist because what will other people think, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you said it. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It means that you value who you are,
Mm-hmm.
enough to know that you're worth this extra care and attention to cultivate your word again. I love that you chose that wellness. Uh, and be creative. If you have something creative that you do, something that you could do for hours on end, and you look up and say, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm still here doing this." That is what you probably need to put in your schedule instead of cramming it with all the things that you said yes to that you really wanted to say no to.
Right.
I have some experience in that area.
Absolutely.
I have some experience in that area. The creative aspect, you can just string beads and it be so like a mindfulness exercise where all of a sudden the whole world disappears. I went to the Van Gogh exhibit,
Mm-hmm.
which was the Van Gogh immersion in Charlotte. And it's the paintings of Vincent Van Gogh on big giant walls that surround you everywhere.
Hmm.
And they played opera, they played music, they played all kinds of music. And the colors were so vibrant. If you stand against the wall, it's like you're in the painting, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
on the floor, it was everywhere.
Wow.
Everything that we were dealing with disappeared for that hour. So
Wow.
being creative can really help the outside world to just melt away for
Yeah.
that time. And then spending time with loved ones. Now, this could be tricky because some of us got some dysfunction going on in our families. I mean, let's just be real about it, right?
True.
Everybody's family ain't just all honky dory getting along. But there's that one somebody. Even if you just watch TV with your child and you watching a children's cartoon and you have a children's movie or you have a family night that y'all watch a movie together or something and cook some popcorn and whatever, you know, there is a chemical released in your brain called oxytocin.
Hmm.
And I always want to cry when I think about how they named the most vicious painkiller this planet has ever seen, oxy.
Wow.
We have to really raise our awareness to what is going on around us so that we can take matters into our own hands when it comes to our care. Because when we put it in the hands of everybody else, we get what we get. But oxytocin, not oxycontin,
Mm-hmm.
oxytocin is
Yeah.
actually a chemical in the brain that is released from just hugging. Mm. So if you just sat there with your family member and your kid fell asleep on your lap, or you hold a brand new baby, it releases it.
Yeah.
It's released through sex.
Mm-hmm.
It's released not just based on the human connection, or shall I say, signs of love and affection.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, right?
Right.
How little we know about what we have been designed to work with and what we can work with within ourselves. So I
Mm.
just want to say when it comes to stress, it's important to understand that maintaining a healthy emotional balance helps us make healthy choices, have good relationships, and achieve our goals. Emotional wellness gives us a way of handling life stresses, navigating relationships, and keeping ourselves motivated. I have so many people say, I'm not motivated to exercise. I'm not motivated. Well, motivation requires movement.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
That's why the word move, you could find it in there, kind of, right? Because without movement, you can't get started. So even if you drag yourself to the park for a walk or you drag yourself, by the time you do it, you say, oh, this feels good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's the things that we want to be mindful of when it comes to cultivating wellness. Anybody have any comments about things they do to cultivate wellness or things that on this list or things that weren't mentioned? Do we have any takers for that?
I'll just add why if anybody wants to add anything. I think that everything you mentioned is so key. And I think that last thing you said that motivation requires movement. That's in anything, right? So if we're going back to the domestic violence part, right? So
Hmm.
in order, you got to get out of it. You have to do something, and that's the movement part of it. You have to seek help. You have to reach out to someone, call the number anonymously if you needed to, and I'm gonna put that in the comments shortly. There's something that you're gonna have to do, because if you don't actually physically move, the act of moving, the act of doing, you can unfortunately, right, find yourself in that situation. And I'm speaking back to domestic violence, really hurt bad or potentially dead. So when
Yes.
we use it, when we also can apply that to the breast cancer awareness. So in order for the motivation requires movement, we have to make sure that we are moving and actively checking our bodies, going to the doctor. That's a part of that movement. Whether we can find it, if you don't know how to check, there's a YouTube video, I'm positive, to show you how you should check your breast, right? And being, again, moving. If you are feeling uncomfortable, you're going to have to move and do, and make sure you tell your doctor that. So I love that you're saying that, because there is something that we still have to do, right? To get above, get in front of that. And so when we think about, again, the breast cancer, domestic violence, and then we think about wellness, in order for me to be well, I have to do something. It's not
Yes, and I think before we did this, we talked about the 8 dimensions of wellness, and we also talked about the stages of change at some point. And the stages of change means that sometimes people are not contemplating how I'm gonna get out. They don't see a way out.
yeah.
But then they start thinking about it and they take action. They say, listen, I got to take one small action. For somebody, it just might be finally admitting to their family, the reason I haven't come around is because I didn't want you to see what he did to my face. I was
Right.
giving you, that one small action could actually set a series of changes off for the person. But the 8 dimensions of wellness, I'm just going to mention it because I really didn't bring it up with this slide. I wanted to keep this as brief as I could. Um, there are 8 dimensions: our physical, our intellectual, our emotional, our spiritual, our environment, financial, occupational, social. And so those are different areas. And sometimes we get out of balance. Like everything might be about my occupational, everything is about work. And so I'm neglecting my physical for work, I'm neglecting my social life for work, I'm neglecting. So what happens is when we get thrown off balance, we have to say one of the ways to cultivate wellness is to try to get a healthy balance on things. But what I did want to add is that high levels of stress can lead to physical complications, high blood pressure, headaches, and even chronic conditions like diabetes. If you're having a hard time enjoying life or experiencing the physical symptoms of high stress, that's when you should talk to a doctor, a therapist, or somebody. So, a good doctor is going to ask you about other areas besides your ailment.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, my bones are aching or my muscles are aching. Some people don't know. They could be depressed, and depression could cause body aches. And who knew? You think it's something else, right? So all of these things are worth exploring and investigating. You want to go to the next slide?
Yeah.
If there's anything you want to add, Whitney, before going to the next slide.
No.
This one. And breathe. A lot of us don't understand how much the breath can calm you down. Drinking water. I'm doing a real simple concept here. Just the breath alone can calm a person down. It sounds so corny. Take a breath and count to 10. I know people told me that my whole life, and I thought it was for somebody else. That's a suggestion for somebody else, right? But it is a powerful tool that you can use, especially if you're in a conflict. Because if you take a breath and you count to 10, you will, chances are, respond instead of react. But if you, and then chances are, because sometimes we just hold our breath or we take a breath and don't exhale and just start spewing a whole bunch of stuff, right?
Yep. I know I was gonna add. I know the iPhone, excuse me, the Apple Watch has a tendency to say breathe. It would say that
It does.
because it yeah, it's tracking
Steps.
your heart rate. It's tracking a lot of things because it's like with your pulse. So I think it's so important to breathe, and sometimes we don't realize how much tension we're holding. I mean, I'm guilty of that too. You don't even realize you're doing that until you actually take a moment and was like, "Whoa, it's been a day." But so then when you really breathe and sit down, and a lot of times breathing also helps you think a little clearer because if we're reacting very fast because we're not taking a moment to that moment allows you to have more clarity.
Yes.
Then you realize probably it ain't even that serious. So let me just take a breath. And then
Yes.
you can be able to address things and deal with whatever that is. It's more clear. And also just breathe and to relax. And sometimes it's okay not to talk. Just stay calm. And I want to add this. Miss Betty wanted to add in about deep, slow breaths actually help lower your blood pressure. So I know that's true. I have family members who have to take a breath. They have to slowly just calm down, you know, and that does help them.
And I'm really glad that she added that because I remember once this lady had a panic attack,
Mhm.
and me and another woman was with her, and she couldn't move because she really thought she could not breathe. And so we kind of was holding her and had our hand on her back, and we were breathing kind of like for her so she could catch our rhythm of our breath,
Mm.
because we did have to call a EMT and everything, but until they came, we had to like do that for her. And you would be surprised if you have a panic attack or something, if you could just slow your breathing down, just like she said with the high blood pressure, and and people around you don't panic, and you don't need that. You'd be surprised at how much it could actually help. So
Mm.
I have one final slide, and I put that up there to talk about Davidson County's resources. So Family Services of Davidson County, they're located at 1303 Greensboro Street Extension, and their phone number is 336-249-0237. I put that up there and I'll leave it up there just for the next minute or so. And we'll just, I don't know if there's anybody to even ask questions to, but um, we'll put that up there because they have a 24-hour crisis hotline. And that means that at any time, someone will answer that phone, even if it's in the middle of the night, and you can talk to them and let them know where you are, if you're not safe, if you're in a safe place. They also have a shelter in which people could come to if they needed to actually relocate to be safe. And that shelter has counselors that will work with you and help you. Even when, if you stay there and you have to relocate and start over, they have people who can help you with employment and getting yourself grounded that way, and also advocates who can go to court with you if you have to go to family court or anything like that. So the services are extensive. They're the only one show in town as far as domestic violence resources, but it's really worth having that information if it's you or someone you know.
Mhm.
So I hope for October that this session really helped you to think about ways to cultivate wellness.
I love it. I love that. I think that make sure if you're on this right now, definitely screenshot that information so that you can have it. I'll also add it to the links within this thread and also post it on our social media if for some reason you don't get a chance to screenshot it. Um,
Mhm.
Thank you, Ms. Kimberly. And yes, Sage has provided some wonderful information. We hope that it has been impactful in some ways. A lot of moving parts. We're talking about domestic violence, breast cancer, and wellness, but everything is just ultimately being well, physically, meaning like our health, our mind, our bodies, and our souls. So I always think about the domestic violence part. It breaks your spirit down. Not only is it physically breaking you down, but it breaks your spirit down. So we just want your spirit to be well, your body to be well, and we just be like really flourishing in our lives and finding ways that we can cultivate being well, and
Mhm.
fall short. We're not always going to be perfect, but what can you do? What is the key word she said? Motivation requires movement. What are we doing to ensure that we are focusing on that, bringing in that good energy to us, finding ways to get rid of negative stuff that we don't need, whether it's people, things that we might see on our social media feed, clean it out. We just want wellness, we want good things, because what you're seeing and anything that you're seeing, the things that you're hearing, what is around you, I can assure you that it's affecting you. Even if you think, oh no, I'm better. Well, in a sense, because you are absolutely a product of what you are hearing and seeing. So you have to be very mindful of cleansing that out, clearing that out, and making sure, because in order for us to be successful anyway, we have to keep that positive, good stuff around us. So thank you, Miss Sage, for that information. If anybody
I
wants
just
to,
want to thank you because that's very courageous of you to keep bringing up social media
oh
because people
yes,
don't realize they're very sensitive about their social media addiction. People don't want to hear that. So I
look,
commend you for even saying that you have to be mindful.
yeah, I mean, as you know, when my background is all into that. And so Facebook and social media in general is literally what drives our world now. As much as we don't want to believe it. And, some generation, like, thankfully I'm a healthy dose of having a real imagination and really interacting along with this digital world. But there's some generations, my niece and nephew, they don't know anything but this. So we have to be mindful that everything digitally is really shaping our mindset. So we have to be very careful about what we're putting in, what we're looking at every day. If you don't like that person and they're negative, delete them. It's okay, because it's not helping you. It's not a benefit to you. And really, you can start feeling better. Take some breaks, like she said, breathe. That breathe is a lot of things. Maybe disconnect from social media. Take time to be alone physically. And with that domestic violence part of it, it's okay not to have a partner. It is okay. It is okay not to have someone in that romantic way, because if that person is not obviously beneficial, as we're talking about the domestic violence part, it's okay to be single. It's okay. You will not die from being single. Be single. Be okay with yourself. Be okay in those moments alone and not having someone always having to be there in some romantic way that can be actually in a way that's negative to you. So just want to add that part. So anything else you want to add before we
No, I just want to say once again, it's been a pleasure, Miss Middlebrooks, with her tech savvy self. I'm just saying. It's been a pleasure to be able to impart this information upon the community, and hopefully somebody will walk away with something that could improve the quality of their life, if not even save someone's life. So
absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you all. Again, I want to add again, we'll be in the community Wednesday and on Thursday of this week to pass out candy. On Wednesday, we'll be in Southside, and on Thursday, we'll be at our local office, which is Jamaica Drive, and we'll be just giving out candy. So if you're in the community passing by, come get some candy, and that's what we'll be doing. So we will be touching back base next month. So keep following us on Facebook, liking and sharing our posts. Feel free to tell your family and friends, because it's not just only, we don't want it to just only be for Lexington Housing Authority, because the information that can be used, anybody can use. But we will see you all next month, and thank you all for attending. Bye.